So Tebey, your current single, Song of the Summer, I mean, it really has in a way become the soundtrack to the freak heat wave that we've randomly enjoyed over the past couple of weeks in the UK and Ireland. I know you wrote the song with Danik Dupel and Jimmy Thau. Please tell me a bit about how this track came together, would you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Danik is my producer. Jimmy is one of my main co-writers. Both are Canadian but live in Nashville. We write together all the time. I kind of been sitting on that title for a minute. You know, when I write songs, I tend to like to come in to the session having the song title. Typically, I like to know where the song's going before I sit down to write. And I'd had that title for quite some time and ended up working on it with Danik and Jimmy, and it was not very difficult to write, to be honest with you. Typically, songs that I work on take several sessions at the very least, but this one was pretty quick, and hopefully that was just kind of telling us that we might have something good in our hands here.
Mhm. The single release of Song of the Summer has obviously been turned into a collaboration between yourself and Una Healy. I know back in 2012, briefly, you lived in London, which is when you first became aware of her as a member of the Saturdays. But all this time later, how did the collaboration happen? Did you reach out to her? And what was it about Una, her voice, her style that stayed with you and made you think she'd be a great fit for the duet?
Yeah, we definitely just cold called Una's management team. As you said, I've been familiar with Una throughout her tenure in the Saturdays, and had been quite a big fan. And I also loved how she kind of transitioned to country music and got back to her Irish roots there a little bit. So she was on our hit list of people. I really wanted to work with someone outside of the country music genre. Your typical, I mean, it's very easy to get another artist who is in the genre collaborating with a bunch of different people, and I really wanted to work with someone different. So we reached out to Una's management team, and it's kind of funny, and we didn't realize this at the time, but her management is actually from Montreal. So there's that Canadian connection. I was pretty happy when I found that out. And yeah, we were able to somehow throughout this pandemic virtually record this duet, record a video, record the song, and now it's out for the world to hear without us even actually meeting in person.
So you grew up in Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, and
Yeah.
you began singing in the church, I think, around the age of 5. At 15, you and your father moved to Nashville, and your mother stayed in Canada to look after your brother and sister. When you now look back on that move as an adult, does that blow your mind in a way, the faith that your family had in your talent and also their persistence in making your dream a reality?
Yeah, I think my father had no choice but to move to Nashville with me. I basically said, I'm leaving, so if you want to come, you're more than welcome. But if you don't, that's fine as well. But yeah, I moved to Nashville when I was very young. I was 16 years old when I moved to Nashville. And my father was nice enough to quit his job to accompany me because he believed in what I was trying to do. So that right there is the ultimate parental support.
Yeah.
And sure enough, here I am at 37, many years later, and still doing what I love to do. And it's all because my parents made that sacrifice, and my father moved to Nashville with me while my mother stayed back home with my brother and sister.
I know your influences are kind of all over the map, and growing up, like most people, sort of, I would say our age, you listen to everything from Nirvana to Drake. What what was the circumstance, or who was the country artist that sort of sparked that passion for that genre and then led you ultimately in the direction of Nashville?
Yeah, I really did grow up listening to everything. I probably have one of the most eclectic tastes in music on the planet. I really do love everything, whether it's country music, traditional country, pop country, hip hop, rock, rap, doesn't really matter. As long as it's a great song, I've always felt that way. A great song is a great song, regardless of genre or any type of box that we as the listener try to put it in. So I kind of take that with me throughout, or have taken that with me throughout my entire career. I really do love being in the country music genre, but also bringing in some of these other influences that I've had growing up. One of my biggest influences in country is Kenny Chesney. Huge Kenny Chesney fan, as well as Tim McGraw. But yeah, outside the genre, I mean, I love artists like Boyz II Men and all the old Motown stuff. And believe it or not, when I was in Toronto last year, I actually went, or I guess it was probably 2 years ago now, but I went to a Tool concert.
Right?
of all the artists you would expect to see me at a concert, Tool is probably not one of them. But I just love music in general, and had to check out that show.
I know over the years you've taken a few trips to Sweden because you were very aware that from, say, the mid to late 90s, the majority of the world's big pop hits from people like the Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, Usher, Katy Perry, these songs were coming out of there. And they were primarily being written and produced by Max Martin, who you've cited as a major inspiration. With that in mind, from arriving in Nashville at 15 with your father, what was the break or what was the journey into ultimately then establishing yourself initially as a songwriter?
Well, I started my artist career very young, as you mentioned, and by the time I was 21 years old, I had actually lost my American record deal, and was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do in the music business. Because I didn't want to work a regular job. I really didn't. I wanted to be in the music business, whether as an artist or later on as I found out as a songwriter. So I just started writing songs for other people, networking, and making the connections necessary in order to get my songs recorded by other artists, just so I could stay in the music business while I tried to figure out how to get back to being an artist. And that's ultimately what led me to where I'm at today. I've had what most would consider a pretty successful career as a songwriter, writing songs for everyone from One Direction to Cher. And then I've kind of used that experience and even, to be honest with you, even that cash flow, and put that back into my career as an artist.
Wow. See, you mentioned that, as a songwriter, as you say, your writing credits go from Justin Moore to Pixie Lott Cher, One Direction. What I love about your music and what really stands out is the melodies. They're quite unique, different, unexpected. When you talk to people, and maybe this is relating more to Northern Ireland, I'm not sure, but when you talk to people who say they casually listen to country music or those who say they don't like it at all, when you engage in conversation, a lot of the times you find they have this preconceived, incorrect stereotype, which now I think artists like yourself, Sam Hunt, Kane Brown, Thomas Rhett, Dan and Shay, you're kind of taking that and flipping on its head. Have you always, based upon growing up what you listen to, have you always had that foresight into, okay, if I take country and blend it with elements of pop, R&B, it's going to have a wider reach and appeal to more people? Or is this something that's come to you over the years, bearing in mind the success you've enjoyed working within pop?
Yeah, I just feel that I have all these amazing influences outside of the genre. Why not use them?
Mm.
It's not a conscious decision that I make at all to try and stay ahead of the curve or to be a trailblazer. I just kind of do what I do, and I feel that yes, there is, as you said, yes, there is a bit of a stigma attached with country music in the UK and Europe. But if I can wave the flag for what new country music is and kind of help to break down those walls and those barriers, then I'm all for it. And that's what I'm doing by being over here. Obviously, you're not going to see some of the bigger American artists like the Thomas Rhett and the Kane Browns come over as often as you would like, but I would gladly fill in their shoes for those people over here that are excited about country music and where it's going. Because I know there's fans here. I know there's fans in the UK and Europe of country music. You just have to find them and you just got to get to them. Because over here you're not as blessed with as many radio stations playing country music as we are back home in the States and Canada. So for me, it's just I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to meet all of these fans that I know love country music and enjoy listening to it.
I mentioned that, yeah, over the years, you've obviously taken numerous trips back and forth to Europe. I know even 2019, you played Country Music Week in Berlin, Cologne, and London. And at the beginning of last year, you actually played C2C Berlin just before everything shut down. As somebody who's got to witness themselves country music in recent times really explode outside of the US and Canada, what's it been like to witness that? But also, as you said, a very successful songwriter and already massively established artist in Canada. Is it strange to come over here, humbling to maybe feel like you're starting from scratch, or is that a challenge that sort of reignites your hunger?
No, I mean, you've really hit the nail on the head with this interview. I mean, it's very humbling for myself to come over here because ultimately I'm starting from scratch. I have a very successful career back home in Canada as an artist. and then obviously on the songwriting things as well, side of things as well. So to come over here and to start from zero again, ultimately, and to try to build up this career, it's a huge undertaking. But I'm up for the challenge, and that's one of the things that I want to get across with all of these interviews and me being over here in the UK at the moment is my dedication to the fan base here. I had to sit in quarantine for 5 days, potentially 10 days, when I got over here last week, and that's all because I know that there's fans here and I want to play for them. And I want to be a part of kind of waving that new country flag in the UK.
Well, what's interesting is it was a couple of weeks ago I was in a playlist meeting for our station Downtown Country, and normally a lot of our decisions are obviously based upon the American country chart, but with your song, it's actually quite unique that you went straight to A-list just because as we hit play, we all sort of in the room looked at each other and went, God, that's refreshing, and that's going to work here.
That's I love hearing that, because again, it's not really a conscious effort that I'm trying to make music that'll appeal to people in Europe or the UK. I just kind of do what I do, and it's been really awesome to watch, especially over the last 4 or 5 months with this single and going in straight away to some of these playlists and being on Radio 2 even, which is incredible. So I feel like this single has really helped me. I mean, obviously we'll have to see, but I feel like I'm able to jump the queue a little bit here, just from all the hard work that I've done over the last few years, coming to the UK where no one really knew who I was, and then eventually getting upgraded to the main stage at C2C Berlin, and then playing in the UK as well. Hopefully get over to Ireland and Northern Ireland in the very near future. So I'm excited. Everything about this whole trip is exciting to me because I know that I'm getting to come over here and make new fans and hopefully come back and do a proper tour.
Because I've noticed you in interviews even mention you're very aware of the significance and still to this day the fan base that Garth Brooks and the relationship that he developed with Ireland. And again, at a time when country music wasn't so popular, he kind of then went into stadiums. Do you know what I mean? But also last week, I know last Thursday and Friday, you played Nashville meets London, and this weekend you're at Buckle and Boots in Manchester. To be coming out now the other side of the pandemic, what's it like to be back in front of a crowd again?
If I'm honest, it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Just because I haven't played in front of real people in probably 18 months. So I don't typically get nervous playing shows much anymore. But I was a little nervous for this first time back in front of a live audience the other day here in London. But the first chord that you play, all the nerves go out the window and you kind of just settle back into what you've always done. It's like riding a bike, really. But yeah, it's so good being on the other side of this now. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And the live shows are back, not only where I'm from on the other side of the pond, but over here as well. So it's going to be a great final week for me here in the UK, and then heading over to Europe to go to Germany for a show. It's just been great. I'm excited. I love the fact that people are seeing live music again, and hopefully it's country music.
And just finally, Tebey, I know last month you had your golf classic at Black Diamond Golf Club in Ontario. I know the event is to raise funds for mental health programming and youth homelessness in the Peterborough community. You've spoken in the past about your own battles with depression. Why is this event so important to you?
It's really important to me because, again, I have struggled pretty much my entire adult life with depression and anxiety. And, a lot of people will say, oh man, you're successful, you've got a nice house, what do you have to be depressed about? And I always tell people, I'm like, depression does not discriminate based on wage, social status, your ethnicity. There's a lot of people that many would not suspect suffer from depression and severe anxiety that do, like myself. And I've been very open about it, especially with my fans back home. And then as I grow the fan base over here in the UK and Europe as well. But yeah, having this golf tournament every year raises funds in the community that I'm from in Canada, Peterborough, which is not too far from Toronto. It raises money for a local shelter that helps people with mental health issues as well as homelessness. And if I can do anything by using what little celebrity I have to raise money for my community where I'm from, then so be it.
So the EP is called The Good Ones. It's out right now, as is the incredible single Song of the Summer with Una Healy. Tebey, listen, continued success, and I really appreciate your time, man.
Absolutely, you as well. Hopefully, I'll see you at a show in the near future.